Raanan is fat and he's a Jew. He'll tell you something that you already knew. Your favorite movie sucks. Your favorite movie sucks. American Beauty or Forrest Gump. Your favorite movie sucks.
Well, we are back with another episode of Your Favorite Movie Sucks. I have one of my good friends' one of my favorite comics working today.
Up and comer.
I don't know if you're an up and comer. Well, you're young.
I'll take it.
Yeah, whatever. And Maddie Wiener in the house. Hey. I was excited to have you on. I did. We talk a lot, but I don't know how much we've talked about movies. But I gave you a list. I was like, what? The way I do this is I ask if they there's 3 favorite movies, and then I'll pick the one, and I'm like, that's the least annoying to watch.
Yeah, I got real fucked on this one. Though.
Yeah, you started out your first couple answers were that what's the type of girl who's trying to be cool with the guys?
What's like a pick me guy?
Yeah, you start out pick me, and then you got so girly. It was so funny. You were like Interstellar. Arrival, and I'm like, all right, do you have another one? And she's like, I don't know, maybe Twilight. Twilight was third. You were doing this whole it's like you're trying to lie, and then you just couldn't do it anymore. I'm trying to do sci-fi men movies. It's like you couldn't think of you couldn't remember the name 2001, so you just fucking said what you actually like, which is Twilight.
That's so funny. No, I do actually fucking love sci-fi movies so much. But a guilty pleasure,
sure, yeah.
You know what it was too is because Twilight came out when I was in 4th grade, and so you're a young girl, and you're like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Right.
I want a boyfriend that's 100 years old and can kill me. This is awesome.
Yeah.
There's some Freudian death wish in it or something.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Part of it, I will say, if you're bisexual, that movie will fuck you up. A kind of feminine dude and then a kind of tomboy girl.
I know. Well, I love Kristen
Get out of
Stewart.
town. She's incredible.
I said that. I was on Louis Gomez's podcast. I said how hot I thought Kristen Stewart.
I'm sure that went over
They were gonna gay bash me. It was just I was about to get it was about to be a fucking Matthew Shepard in there.
No, she's the coolest, most beautiful.
I love her.
It's
yeah,
insane. Yeah,
I have the taste of a lesbian.
Hilarious.
I've always had a huge crush on her. I like a girl who has a little boy in her, but it's still a girl.
Yeah,
that's not gay.
Glad there's some people out there, you know what I mean? Amen, brother.
So where were you?
Yeah, but she's amazing, and I do think it's fun that it's overacted and silly and stupid, but also there's a fun I don't know, there's a weird death wish to it of
sure.
the danger of whatever. I mean I'm even trying to fake to it. I'm it is fucking stupid.
Well, it's
but it's fun.
You're dating.
I'll defend why it's fun.
Yeah, that's fine. You're dating someone who is trying to resist the urge to eat you.
Yeah, that's hot.
Yeah,
it is a kind of
It's definitely rape. I feel like it's definitely talking about rape, right? I don't know. I mean, that's just me.
I mean,
I'm gonna try really hard not to eat you.
But I think there is some female fantasy of you want a guy to want you so bad that he can't help himself, and there's a female fantasy of a guy that's so strong that he could hurt you but he doesn't.
Right.
And it really kind of gets at that.
Right, definitely. She's the scared little fragile creature. She has to feel the threat, but then him protect her. It's funny though, he's it's a little weird as a metaphor because there's 2 urges going on. There's I have the desire to drink your blood, but also I want to fuck you. Right? I mean, so it's both.
Yeah.
But it's a little weird because the drinking the blood is always been a metaphor for fucking, you know? So now it's I have this metaphor to have sex with you, but also I want to actually fuck you.
And they're was that a metaphor for drinking blood? How does that?
But let's start from the beginning. Where were you when you saw Twilight?
I remember reading it in 4th grade. When I actually saw it.
Where are you from? You from Chicago?
North Carolina.
Oh, okay. You read it in 4th grade, North Carolina.
Yeah. Was this is crazy. This is so cool. I'm sure I saw it. I don't know if my parents would have let me. I'm sure I saw it in a movie theater when I was in middle school or something.
Paint the setting. What made you? What in the world you're living in made you Obviously, there's some escapism, right? So, what was the attraction exactly?
I think there's something about a cool, brooding tomboy that is very pretty, but has this like hoodie, and it's raining
Right.
everywhere, and it's dark, and she's like kind of tortured, and like the other people at school, like it's almost like a dark Hannah Montana. You know what I mean? It's like you guys don't get it. Like they're all shopping for prom dresses, and she's like, I'm like
she doesn't
wrestling
dance.
with a monster. Yeah, it's like it is kind of very like I'm not like other girls. Like as a young girl, especially if you're like kind of a tomboy, it's this very like, oh, the other girls don't get it. I'm like.
Right.
Doing this crazy weird thing. I think that's part of the escapism.
I get that. My question, and maybe it's more explored in the book, is that whole like I'm not like other girls is just barely there. I mean, like there's not like she's not actually doing anything that different. They don't in the movie. They don't even really show her like reading. Like she's not like reading like fucking like some like dark literature. She's just like
no. She kind of is a normal teenage girl that gets sucked up into this.
Yeah. Like it's interesting. I just like there's not much of a character.
She's like pale.
Yeah, I don't like. They don't make her like. They don't get into politics. They don't get into like.
Well, she's 17.
I know, well, so, but like they don't get into like what makes her not.
Your critique of Twilight is they don't get into politics.
No, what I'm trying to say is
that's so.
What
funny.
made you different than other girls? And it, like,
like, well, I mean, it's just I think it's I have a vampire boy. I know this, and I know this. You know what it really is? I think I know this big secret about the world that lurks right beneath the surface, and you guys have no idea.
But I guess what I'm saying is, before she falls in love with a vampire, what is really that different about her? I guess that's
I guess it's just that she's kind of like socially awkward and like.
Yeah, I guess.
That's really it.
So, because I was interested in that, because I'm watching this thinking this is going to be like, you know, because all that shit is supposed to be like, yeah, this is like me. I'm different. I'm a weirdo, you know? And really, to me, the movie is really about hot privilege, because it's just about a cute girl coming to town and how easily she fits in immediately because she's attractive. Like
everyone's hitting on her.
Which
like,
I guess is realistic, because like in like, what's it called? Mean Girls, it's like the idea that girl who's like clearly hot would just be bullied by everyone. Bullying is about looks. Like that's what it's about.
100%.
It's like, I don't know if you've seen Welcome to the Dollhouse. It's a great movie, but this girl who's like unattractive is getting bullied, and at one point she's like, why are you doing this to me? And he just goes, because you're ugly. Like it's like that is what bullying is.
Yeah, totally.
But then
the way that Hollywood casts it is it's like a really pretty person that you're like put pale makeup on her.
But like,
or she's a redhead. Like, it's like,
but that's this hot person getting bullied.
Because they're like, if we actually made an ugly person the main character, no one would have sympathy.
Yeah,
bully them in the movie theater.
Yeah, you'd
throw
be like,
tomatoes.
fuck that ugly guy. Yeah,
it actually shows. We're like, why doesn't Hollywood feature like ugly people more? It shows how incapable we are of having any sort of sympathy for ugly people. They're like villains.
Of course, I that's what I mean. Like to me, it's like one of the hardest things about Hollywood is that there are people who are hot that it would have been a much better movie if they weren't. And it's just actually confusing. Like, we're supposed to believe Maude Apatow is like the ugly girl in Euphoria. Yeah. You know, it's just like
the one movie, this is a whole can of worms that I have a lot of opinions on, but the Paul Thomas Anderson one with Alana Haim, who is still like gorgeous, but like,
she's very Jewy
her teeth
looking.
are a little weird, and like, you know, and the kid Cooper, like, you know what I mean?
No, she's not that attractive.
I mean, but it's one of those things where it's like whenever there's a movie star that we're like, oh, they're not that attractive. If you saw them in real life, you'd be like, that person's gorgeous above everyone else. But she at least looked like a real person, and it did really add something to that movie, I thought. Again, I have a million more opinions
I agree
on
with that. I agree with that. But like, it is funny when you go into a movie, it's like you get brought down, like let's say your hot level is at an 8 or 7. You get brought down like 4 points when you're in a movie. That way, like someone gorgeous in real life is just like the cute nerdy girl in the movie.
And you know
then someone actually hot in a movie you can't even see in real life because they're in their own
it'll
little,
like burn your eyes. Yeah.
But then these gorgeous girls are just like the girl next door.
You know what probably part of it is too? Is if you're a weird girl or you feel as a kid like, oh, I'm a weird girl and I don't fit in. And then in the movie, the weird girl who doesn't fit in is gorgeous.
Yes.
Then you're like, well, I'm actually gorgeous. It's just that I'm too cool for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. They're gorgeous.
If they actually cast an ugly girl, you'd be like, I don't want to relate to that.
Exactly. And that's why it doesn't happen. And that's why there's no realistic movies. It's just hot people. Most of movies
everyone would kill themselves.
Are hot people being treated like ugly people. Yeah. I mean, no movie makes sense. Like Knocked Up when he's like dating that hot girl and she's like, I want you to quit weed. And he's like, no. He'd be like, of course, I'll do whatever you want. You're so much hotter than me. None of it like makes sense. But this really actually is kind of like a realistic thing because she is hot and she's welcomed immediately. It's actually funny. It's like the
Although,
opposite
to be
of
fair,
Mean
you did
Girls.
just say that the guys on that podcast bullied the fuck out of you for thinking that Kristen Stewart's.
Yeah,
so
but
it's
those
like
guys are basically Nazis. Like I'm not. I mean, yeah, what are we talking about? Yeah, they're like in a whole other world. But like, she is. Yeah, I know. It's so annoying when I say someone's hot and they're like, "Oh, you." They act like she's disgusting, and I'm like, well, then why is she a popular act? Like,
dude, and there is just like such a level of like misogyny of like, oh, she's hot, when you're like, she would not fuck you.
Right.
Guys calling a girl ugly that would never
I know.
fuck them.
And then they'll
I'm
say
like,
she's fine. I'm like, shut the fuck up,
dude, it's insane.
But it's like, I'm also like, she is a sex icon. I mean, it was Twilight. It's not like they didn't just put an ugly girl in this vampire
no,
series.
Kristen Stewart is like, and you know why we'll never know Kristen Stewart's opinion about those guys is because she doesn't do a podcast because she's hot.
Yeah, exactly.
She is so on
Of
like another
course.
level of it's crazy.
Of course.
She like models for Chanel. It's
but
bro,
these are the kind of guys who need like an ass to be like 500 pounds and like shit like that.
it's
you know?
insane. And then and then they'll be like, this dumb whore. I really want to fuck her. Like, there's no winning.
No, Kristen Stewart's gorgeous. Yeah. No, they literally made me think I was crazy for saying Aubrey Plaza was hot. I'm like,
insane.
But clearly she's the hot person in every movie.
Yeah, and she's like cool and
it's
like
not just me being like, I'm the one person who finds her attractive.
no, but you've listed women that have like kind of some
Personality.
spunk and personality, and they're like, that's a turnoff.
I like women where the personality is part of the hotness.
100%. I feel that way about women and men. The
Yeah,
personality has to be part of it. A person who's gorgeous on paper, I'm like, you're good job with your face, but like,
But to be
the
fair,
energy is like 95%
it's not
of
the
it.
actual personality. It's like the illusion. Like something about their hotness makes them look thoughtful. That doesn't mean they're thoughtful.
That's
it just
so
means
funny.
They look thoughtful.
I know there's been a lot of guys where I'm like, he's so like aloof.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
like he's always pondering, and it's like he's
Just
ignoring
attract-
you.
Yeah.
It's a hot guy ignoring you.
Well, that's the other hot privilege of this movie is that so she gets there and she's like has no problems. Everyone likes her. And then the ultimate hot privilege, she is into this guy, even though he is revolted by her in the first scene. Revolted. He's like doesn't even want to be around her. He's
no,
like
no. He's not revolted by her. That smell thing when he's like, is because he's smelling her scent and he wants to eat her so badly.
I know. This is not.
Oh, I thought you were fully like.
I mean, I know what it. You're like, no, he's a vampire. I know, but
Wait, were you doing a bit?
It just comes off as he's revolted. I guess is what I mean. Sorry, I wasn't explaining. It comes off like he's revolted.
That's what she thinks it is for sure.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the point I'm trying to make. From her perspective, he's revolted. He's revolted by her, and she's still like totally into him.
Okay.
If I sat by a girl in school and I was like, ugh, and I was like, can I go to another class?
Yeah.
You think that girl would be like, I want to know more about him? That's hot privilege. He is hot.
Oh, he has hot privilege. I would say she does too, just by the fact that didn't break her. Like, I had that thing watching it. I was like, I would be like crying in the hallway.
That's a good point too.
I wouldn't be like confronting him.
Yeah. Like if you sat down to a kid, he's like, I need to switch classes because I don't want to sit by you. Like, yeah, like you'd kill yourself. I'd kill myself. You know what I mean? And she's just like, you're right. That's totally hot privilege. She's just like, well, there's clearly something wrong with him. And like, but
if I can make a point, we're doing with hot privilege what you said women do with internalized misogyny, where you're like, no, I don't lack self-esteem. This is hot people in me not letting me have what they have. What we're describing is a basic level of self-confidence. And she's like, I don't smell bad. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Right.
Well, they won't let ugly people act like that.
But it's also true, though. It is true. Like,
okay. I don't think that you're ugly or that but like for playing into whatever we're talking about, it's how you feel compared to other guys is how women feel.
Of course, I actually understand. As a fat guy,
and how ugly women feel is how like a dog feels. How you feel is how like an 8 feels in like an office setting.
No, I think I'm like in my life more friends with women just because like as a fat guy, every woman feels like a fat dude. So I just relate to them. You know
That's
what I
really
mean?
funny. Also, I'm like, I'm shitting on this to play like
misogyny.
some internal logic. I'm like, we riff about that a lot too because we both have a lot of fat jokes. But I'm also like, we're not fucking gargoyles out of it. You know what I mean?
No, but I will say when you get into a movie, your points go down. Like if I'm okay.
Oh, I've had that
life,
thought multiple times where I don't get cast in something, and I'm like, thank God.
If I was in a movie, like
so sad.
I'm like okay in real life, I guess. If I was in a movie, I could only go out for like Shrek or like a remake of The Goonies with Sloth. Like that. That's just the way it works.
I get like the few auditions I do get are like it'll be like a mom in her 40s, and I'm like, I'm 26. And like, your body has been used.
You were like
really depressing.
you were like 15 in high school. How many kids have you had? I can't even. I just farted. Sorry. But so, all right. I'm just saying the hot privilege of like. You're right though. The hot
Great time to fart. That's so funny.
The hot privilege of there's two hot like the hot privilege of the fact that he is like acting like he's disgusted by her to the point where he wants to switch classes. Mm-hmm. He's literally like, I need to go in another class. I don't want to sit by this fucking ugly whore or something, you know? And the fact that there's no self-hatred in her. She's just like, he must have a secret. Like she has no concept of like, oh no, it can't possibly be that I'm so ugly. He needs to like be as far away as possible.
That's
but
also the kind of cool tomboy archetype that like young weird tomboy girl it looks up to. It's a kind of like, I don't know, Arya Stark or like Hermione Granger. Like, no, fuck you. What's your problem?
Right.
Like that thing is like, I think especially if you're a young girl, you're like, I want to be like that. You know.
I guess, though, you could also look at it like the classic.
It didn't work, by the way. I let people walk all over me.
Well, but I'm saying, like, yeah, she's like, what the fuck? But that it's funny. You're like, that's a tomboy thing. But it's also a classic girl, like, oh, this guy's not interested. I want him even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not that it couldn't also be a hot girl thing, but I just mean there's like, I can think of a lot of characters that do that kind of like, rebellious kind of like I'm not wrong, you're wrong thing.
Exactly.
Female characters that do that fill a very specific niche that I think a type of girl is drawn to.
But once again, like I said, this whole tomboy thing in this is bare minimum. I mean, like, I guess there's one point where they're in dresses and she doesn't seem to care. And she doesn't like dance, but other than that,
it's a little bit of like I'm wearing Converse to prom. Like,
but
totally.
It's like not really in her soul. There's nothing that you're like, oh, she's like countercultural or anything, you know?
Yeah,
like at all. I mean,
she's tough, but then it's like,
is she? Oh, I guess she's crazy. She's like, well, that's the thing.
That's a good point. Yeah, she might be more crazy than tough.
Person. I mean, that's the thing. The hot privilege of this, from his perspective, that he can basically. He's disgusted by her. She still likes him. Like, just imagine if it was me in that situation. Imagine how crazy it would be if the girl would still be into me. Like, a cute girl sits next to me in class. I, like, don't say hi. I'm, like, disgusted. I try to get out of the class. She's still into me. Somehow after that, she finds out I'm a vampire. And she's still into me. Like, this is the most hot privilege ever. He can do no wrong, this fucking guy. Because he's hot. He can do no wrong. He's a fucking vampire who, like, is, like treating her, like, indifferently. And she's still like, let's go out.
Yeah, that's why I mean, this is what this movie did to a lot of young girls. It just gives you a horrible model of relationship.
Yeah.
It teaches you to be with a man who will, like, hit you.
Yeah, who's, like, a danger and just disgusted by it.
But there's something in us that...
He's hot. Yeah, that's it. It's just that he's hot. She's like, there's something about him. That's hot. Every time people say that, there's like in that movie, there's something about Mary. There's something about Mary. Yes, she's fucking hot. That's just something. It's not a fucking mystery. She's hot. That's the something. That's not interesting. She's just hot. It's like anytime they talk, there's something about her. It's just looks. That's all it ever is.
That's so funny.
But so...
Well, I was going to say one thing, too, about, like, we were like, oh, you know, we cast her as, like, the weird girl, but you're actually gorgeous. They just put her in, like, a hoodie and pale makeup.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with him, too, where he's like, I'm a hideous monster. And it's like, you sparkle in the sun and you have, like, glowing skin. You know what I mean? It's like the things that... It's this fantasy of, like, I'm so weird in a beautiful way. Yeah.
It's just hot people. That's all it ever is. They change stuff a little... You know, but it's always just young hot people.
Wow, for someone with so many grievances about hot privilege, I thought you would have liked the substance.
No, I don't understand female hot. No. If substance is all men, I just love it. Just refuse to. But so, all right, so let's go through it. So she goes to class. Mm-hmm. Oh, first she's with her dad. It's interesting. Her
He's
dad,
hot, by the way.
He's hot, but what's interesting is, like, I'm pretty sure that thing they have in common is that they're both pretty boring. Like he just seems really boring and doesn't talk, and I guess she's a little like that, and so that's like the hereditary connection. They're both like kind of boring people, and because there's really not much there in their relationship.
Well, and then that's the whole like they're like, oh, well, she hasn't seen him in so long. They don't really know each other. They're kind of estranged.
But it's interesting. What I was surprised by this is there's zero conflicts for a lot of the movie. Like she's coming to his place, and they've been estranged, and they just kind of get along. There's not like
there's all the like he's like, you like purple, right? And is this the food? Like it's the they do all the little like, you cut your hair, and she's like, nope, it's longer. Like all the little like to show that it's like, oh, he doesn't remember a lot about her. They don't really know each other
but
that
she doesn't
well.
seem to have much issues about that. It never
that's like establishing.
Did it come up later? I haven't seen the 12 other movies, but like,
it comes up later when she is like, "Screw you, I'm leaving." Blah, blah. She uses it as an excuse to fake leave.
No, well, but she's only lying about that to get out of there. She's not actually.
It's alluding to Kubrick, actually.
I'm just saying, like
that she's fucking crazy.
I'm just saying, it's just there's a surprising lack of drama in the movie, in my opinion. Like she's like with her estranged father, they just seem to kind of get along.
There might be a lack of drama. I don't know that it's surprising.
It might not be surprising lack of drama in this movie for 14-year-old girls.
Well, and all the drama is between her and Edward, and
yes, right. So what happens next? Is we like to go through the movie here on the podcast. So she's like with him, then she's with her friends, and I mean, like it's like she's basically in the popular crew.
Yeah, they kind of all the guys are like kind of like drawn to her.
There's actually no nerds for this movie to be like so off the beaten. Like there's no nerds in this movie. Yeah. It's all jocks.
Well, I don't know if she's popular. I mean, she's with the like newspaper journalist crew, so maybe she's supposed to be with,
the hot thing is so confusing because the newspaper's still like just really
so funny
because
they're all
girl.
like 17. You're like, everyone in this movie is so hot, I can't even believe it.
Hot.
No, also all the actors probably are like 20. The way that they
yeah, well, let's hope. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but it's like those aren't kids that would get picked on in school. They're all
right.
Like, yeah.
Well, to me, I'm like, but you know what it is? I'm like, oh, these are the hot girls. But that's because now in movies, the hot girls are all ethnic. Back then, I guess if you were a nerd, you would just be like...
pause, rewind, what?
Like
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like back then, there was no ethnic, like everyone's white. You know what I mean? So like when someone was Asian in a movie, I guess that meant they were the nerd. like she's Indian, so she's not maybe the popular girl. But now it's like that everyone is like,
now that we have more diversity.
Yeah, so like the hot jock can be that. But I think back then... Like, you're really hanging me out to dry here. You know what I'm saying? I think back then, like, oh, they were like, this was a different group because it had like the Indian girl.
Yeah, this is like the oddball group, and it's like it's just a diverse
just a hot
group.
Indian. Yeah.
But I remember because they're on like the student paper.
Yeah. Right. I guess that's also that. Yeah. But it's really.
But yeah, DEI somehow probably too.
It's a weird. It's a weird, like, the high school world is weird. There's that newspaper guy who doesn't really play any part. It's like, it's just amazingly badly developed, everything. Like, nothing really, like, comes
But again,
to...
they're not developed. They're in high school. I served in a war. Like, I don't know.
I'm not asking for, like, a decades of backstory. I'm just saying they don't really do anything with the characters. Like that.
Well, the guys end up dating the girls in that group. The guys are interested in her, then she goes for Edward, and then those guys end up being with those girls.
Yeah, did it come in later or like later series? Because
I think later in the movies those relationships are there, but those characters don't really become important. It becomes way more about because you haven't seen the whole series.
No.
In the second movie,
a man who's seen that whole series is a pedophile. Like there's no if you've seen the entire series, you are a pedophile. I've only jacked off to her in the first one.
If you watch till she graduates high school. No, but the second movie, so what happened in the second movie, spoiler alert, since I know your audience is probably really has this on their watch list, is he leaves because he's like, it's for your own good. I'm going to eat you or whatever. And, or he's like, I'm ruining your life. I'm going to leave. And so then she starts hanging out with Jacob. And then we find out...
Jacob, the Native American.
He's a werewolf.
Yeah, I vaguely remember.
We get into this whole thing about the werewolves, and we can do a deep dive on the racism of, like, the brown people are animals, and the white people are, like, these weird, like, immortal god... It's a little strange.
Right.
But he's a werewolf, and the werewolves and the vampires have this like long history of fighting. And so the big conflict over this series.
It's not like he becomes a buffalo.
Like, it's fine. It's not racist. The actor isn't even actually Native American.
Whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
But so there's a while in the series where the conflict is between for most of the series, the conflict is between the vampires and the werewolves, and she's caught in this love triangle between the two of them.
Yeah.
And then there's this later in the series, this like vampire, like the root, like their version of like.
Right.
Who rules over all the vampires in the world and keeps it in line and, makes sure that no one lets their secret out and blah, 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 is in like Italy. It's like their like Vatican or whatever.
Okay.
And so then.
Like a society.
And yeah, and the werewolf's in love with her, but he's not supposed to be and blah, blah, blah. And so they end up having to work together to help save her from the Volturi is what they're called. And so they end up having to work together. And then the series ends with them. Well, she gets pregnant and the baby eats its way out of her body.
Oh, Jesus.
Because this is actually pretty cool. So like later in I know we're getting off the first movie, but like later in the series, they go on like a honeymoon. Again with the whole, he's like, I can't fuck you because I'll kill you. And she's like, just try. And they have sex on their honeymoon because they get married. And she's still human. He's a vampire. But then he gets her pregnant. And they're like, we didn't even think this was possible. This has never happened before, blah, blah, blah. And so she has a human body with what they think is probably like a half human, half vampire baby. But vampires are so much stronger than people that it's like killing her to hold this child. And so it ends up, it's like it's really fucked up actually in later movies. She's like, 85 pounds and like looks like she's dying. Yeah, it's kind of wild. And like the baby is literally like draining all her blood out of her. She ends up having to like, still a human, drink blood to feed the baby's appetite. The baby,
she's not going to get an abortion at this point. I feel like if ever there's,
I think it was like they couldn't kill it, or they couldn't kill it without killing her because vampires have to be like burned or something. Or maybe also I think she doesn't want
the abortion pill is not part of the mythology.
I think they might.
Vampires get destroyed by burning or the abortion pill.
No, actually, I think they talk about an abortion, and she's like, "No, I want to keep the baby." And they're like, "Are you crazy? This is going to kill you."
Wow,
and
they're
she's
such
like,
a
I want your baby.
religious couple. They don't have sex, and like except for their marriage, and then she doesn't want to have an abortion.
I wonder. You probably could do some big analysis of like Christian themes and like the Virgin Mary, like perfect. But long story short of this is the baby eats its way out of her. They have to turn her into a vampire to save her life because she's dying on the table. And now they have this kid vampire. And there's been a thing that you're not allowed to make vampires out of children because they have all that frenzied, blood stuff, but they are a child forever, so they can't control it. And they like, there was this kid like destroyed a whole town, and they were like, never again. But because she's this half human weird thing, it's like she's gonna grow up and then stop aging when she's like 18 or something. But then the werewolf falls in love with the kid. He imprints on her, which means like I'm gonna love her when she's of age.
Oh,
so
that's like animal grooming?
Yeah, he kind of like grooms her, and they're like, what do you mean you're in love with my baby? And he's like, it's called imprinting. It's like different. The baby eats its way out of her, and then he's not in love with her anymore. He goes, the reason I thought I was kind of in love with you is because I was really imprinting on the baby that was inside of you. And so now he marries, but the kid grows fast. The kid grows in like dog years. So she becomes an adult, they get married. And it's a whole thing.
The dream of every creep to get rejected by a girl and then try to fuck their child.
No, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of an amazing...
The one loophole to rejection.
It's kind of an amazing Freudian, like all of our darkest, most evil impulses in one movie for teenage girls.
That's hilarious.
And they're like, this is so cool. And I'm like, you're actually dealing with like the darkest impulses.
Well, that sounds like it gets much better.
It's pretty interesting, yeah.
It's interesting, like, too. I feel bad.
I mean, it's crazy, but
I feel bad for the Native American dude because his people were all wiped out, but by America. But also, I feel bad. Like he's trying to compete with Cullen. Yeah. But like the vampire is clearly the sexy monster.
Well,
it's hard for him to be like, I'm a dog every full moon. That's just as attractive.
Well, no, there's this whole like kind of symbolism of like symbolism, whatever. But like he's the werewolves have like a higher body temperature than humans. They're like warm all the time, and the vampires are cold. And she's from Phoenix, but she leaves for Forks because even though it's kind of like the destiny she was given, it's what she want, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So there's this whole like hot, cold thing going on.
So she's into him because he's warm?
She like likes him a little bit, but she's like, but I really love Edward.
Interesting. You should have a threesome with the werewolf and the vampire and her. Do they do that?
Well, they become
That'd be pretty hot.
There's a scene.
Throw the kid in there too, you know.
There's a scene where they have to like they're working together, and there's like the second or third movie, I think, and they're working together to like keep her safe from these like evil vampires or something.
Right.
And it's like, well, she has to cuddle up to him because she's warm and she's human, and like, you know, if she cuddles with Edward, she'll die. But if she cuddles with Jacob, he'll like warm. And there's this weird thing of like, Edward doesn't want her to become a vampire. He's like, enjoy your humanness, and like Jacob is like a wolf and warm and almost like more human, and I hesitate to say animalistic, but like he's like more alive than a human.
Yeah.
And Edward is like death.
So you
like,
think Native
codified.
Americans aren't fully human? That's what you're saying. Clip it.
You know what I mean? But he represents like being even more alive, and he represents almost being dead.
Aloof,
and she has this like death. She wants the cold dead thing versus this guy that like is
It's like
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you're torn between being with like an Italian or like a German guy. So or like a Norwegian. I guess that's called their death.
So funny. 100%.
So
but she's human. She's right in the middle.
Right.
So it's like, what's her destiny?
There's clearly a lot of setup, but I am like in that first movie, I am somewhat surprised about how bad the storytelling is. Sure. Mainly because typically with a movie, you want to set up the ending in the beginning a little. Mm-hmm. And I was just amazed that they do none of that.
Dude, the beginning has fucking nothing to do with anything.
So the end, they just introduced 3 new characters in the last 30 minutes. And you're like, who are, like, it's just like a whole different movie. It's like,
it's almost like Marvel kind of like, it's all for the sequel.
Right. But you're like watching and you're like, well, the whole point of storytelling is you use the stuff from the first half and kind of put it into the second half. They do like a traditional movie like that jock who's like really into her. Mm-hmm. And she's with Edward. Like that jock would actually be probably a part of the third act, you know? Like he'd be like the guy trying to like kill the vampire.
Well, nothing really comes back. I mean, her mom,
amazingly, not even the ballet studio. They don't even set that up. Like you'd think, in traditionally in a movie, there'd be like a little like a memory of a ballet studio, and then at the end when they're drawing it, she's like, "I know that place. It's the ballet studio." And then the audience would be like, "Oh, from the beginning."
I remember that too.
But
wait, that's a great fucking point.
You're just like, "What the fuck? What fucking ballet studio?" Like that would have been.
That's a great point.
That would have been so easy.
And the movie starts with her leaving Phoenix, so she totally could have been like saying goodbye to the ballet studio she went to when she grew up.
Talk about the last happy time in her life was doing ballet as a little kid or something, or one of her fond memories.
That's a fucking really good point.
Like the third act has no connection. They're just like. They draw it, and she's like, ballet studio. And he's like, were you at a ballet studio? She has to fucking explain it. She's like, when I was
5
younger.
minutes before the movie started.
The storytelling in this
it's hilarious.
Is awful. And then you have this villain who's not in the movie until the very end, and he's like trying to kill her, and he's like, I want Edward to like fucking, be so upset by this. I want him to see the video. And you're like, oh, it looks like they have this long beef. But they just met. They just met. It's insane. It's like the worst storytelling I've ever seen.
And I will say, beef I have at the end of the movie, Carlisle, the doctor dad guy, who they were like, he's the only person who really has the willpower to like, taste human blood and stop because he did that to save all the adopted kids. Then Edward's like, she's dying. And he's like, well, you better suck her blood out.
Yeah.
It's like, you could do it.
Yeah,
You're famously the guy that has done that like 10 times.
Right.
But instead, Edward does it, which is like a character moment, but it's like, literally, you should have just done that.
Of course.
He's sitting right there, and he's like, oh, good luck with that.
Yeah.
No reason.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
And it's also, like, usually in a movie like this, I mean, maybe it would be tropey, but usually in a movie like this, like, there's a twist. Like, Carlisle turns out to be a bad guy. Or, like, typically...
There's kind of no twist.
There's no twist. There's, like, usually in that, you're like, oh,
no. The twist is in the first act when he's a vampire.
Yeah. There's no, I'm like, I want to rewrite this movie because there's so many obvious things. You have her, like... It opens with her just talking about doing ballet, and you see that place. It's like my last happy memory. And you turn out by the end that Carlisle, even though he seems really good, is actually a bad guy. And he's the
bad guy instead of introducing that last character?
Yeah, he's like eating the other people. He's like breaking that code. They do none of that. They don't take anything. So by the end, you're in a different movie. Like, that fucking guy, you've seen him for 2 scenes, is like,
That's true.
now I'm going to get my revenge and kill you and Edward. Edward will see the video. I'm like, this isn't some long beef. They just met each other.
If you splice them together and just put like different LUTs on them, you'd
Yeah.
be like, oh, two different
That's
Kristen
two different
Stewart
movies.
movies.
Yeah, ooh,
That's
good filmmaker
so
term.
funny.
But it is wild. Like that. Like they don't, and it's such bad storytelling that instead of like using showing at all, halfway through the movie they sit under a tree and there's just the longest Q&A. Like it's just insane. Yeah. It's basically a press conference halfway through the movie and she just asks him every question and he just explains it. It's like insane. He's just like, so wait, can you see the sunlight? No, we're not that kind of vampire. And how did you happen? Would you bleed? Oh, she's like, do you have any other questions? This is like the worst storytelling.
That's so funny.
It's badly directed. It's the kind of movie where like the shots don't feel intentional, so like it goes back and forth between like handheld and like on stick.
Yeah, there's some crazy like wide angle like passing in front of the camera.
There's
you're
no
like,
consistency.
But if you're 9, you're like, whoa.
But there's just no consistency to the shots and no like intention to them. It's a beautiful area. My family lives in Tacoma and it's kind of close to there. It's like it is gorgeous, but I'm just amazed by how badly directed and how like none of the techniques of storytelling are used in this movie.
Pretty hilarious.
In fact, I would say there's not really a story until she's dating him and he's a vampire, but there's no real conflict.
It's like an ASMR fun to watch.
Yeah. There's no conflict until the very end. There's only a conflict when they introduce a completely different set of characters. Everything's going fine. Every place where you think there'd be conflict, there's no conflict. She gets to a new school, but it's fine. They all welcome her. She sees this guy. They start dating. He meets their family. The family's great. Everyone's fine. They're playing baseball. Like, everything is fine. There's literally no conflict until literally in the baseball game, these three people who you've barely seen just are like, oh, we're the bad vampires, you know?
That's
like,
so
how about
funny.
you make some bad people from within the community?
It's almost like the whole werewolf thing should have been introduced in the first movie, because then it actually does become existing characters have a thing and there's conflict, but they both have a shared interest in protecting her, so they have to work together, but they have this like centuries long beef and like. Yeah, but the first movie doesn't really have that.
It's just like there's just
also those evil vampires. I don't think they even like really come back. Like,
they don't even come back?
I don't remember what happens to them. They maybe come back in like the second movie and Jacob's like protecting her from them, but it ends up that the real bad vampires are like the Volturi.
Oh, okay. My favorite part is when they go to his house and she's like, wow, this house seems so nice. He's like, what'd you expect? Castles? And it's like, well, you should go a little easy on her. He is a vampire. I don't think he needs to be sarcastic. What'd you expect? Other fictional elements to go to this fictional thing? Idiot.
Also, we skipped the biggest flaw of the movie, which I know this is hack. Everyone says this. But why do they continue to go to high school for 100 years?
Right. Why do they have to?
They're immortal. Just live off the grid and be like, actually, I'm 18 and I'm a writer.
They're basically just in. It's like the movie is a mix between Billy Madison and Groundhog Day. They're just stuck going through school over and over and over again. Yeah,
I couldn't imagine tolerating that. He's like pro-phase. You would be losing your mind at that point.
Frankly, I feel like he would have said pro-phase a little quicker. He still has to think about it. You think he'd be like, pro-phase, I've done this 4 billion times. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like, why would you ever tolerate that?
Right. That is so weird. Like it's like they don't. Yeah. Like they must be like so upset. Like they must be like, this is so boring.
Can you imagine an eternity of going to high school? I'd be like, kill me.
Yeah. He'd be like so annoyed and just answering all the questions.
If you picture, like, hey,
how do you all fucking not know this? It's obvious.
You're gonna be in high school forever. We're gonna move every couple of years. You can never be in the sun. Also, you're gonna want to taste this thing really badly. We're never gonna eat it. We just don't do that. You're gonna have the shitty animal version of that. Yeah. It's kind of like an awful existence.
And then until you smell a girl's pussy or something, and then you're like suddenly, what? I don't understand like why it's just her. And that other guy's clearly just smelling her pussy. He's like, he's like tracking down her pussy. He's just like She's
like, on her period.
Yeah, he's like,
that would have been a fun conflict. She gets her period. Wait, she gets her period.
And then the tracker comes and it finds her. Yeah, that would have been great.
I don't think that comes up in the entire series. The only time it comes up is when she's like, my period's late, and that's how she finds out she's pregnant.
Right.
But then you go, yeah, wait, what have you been doing when you're on your period?
He's just
fine?
It actually works out. He can get to leave for that whole
He's
point.
still like fishy.
He's like, you know what? Since I'm a vampire, when you're on your period, I'm going to leave you for that entire time. I think that's for the best.
Some ancient religious.
It's actually the greatest excuse.
You just smell too good, babe. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, it is the whole thing. And when I was watching it first, I was like, are they not using the light? Like, I didn't get the light thing, the bullshit they do with the sparkles. At first, I'm like, well, they're vampires. Are they just hoping it's just going to be a gray day every day there?
Well, that's why they live at Forks.
Yeah,
it's
but
rainiest. They're big on like it's the rainiest place in the world.
I know, but there's still sun. That's still insane. There's still nice days in Seattle. Like the idea that they're like
Seattle is like, yeah, but maybe people will think it's just glitter and I'm gay. That's why we had to move to Seattle.
I was just like, is the sun gonna come out one day and just kill them all? Like, are they just? Yeah, it's just so funny that it's like, I know it's gray there. It's not like.
Well, no, it doesn't kill them. It just makes them sparkle,
and
then people can see them, and then if they reveal them, if they like blow up the secret of vampires, the Volturi will kill them.
No. I get that. You really underestimate my vampire lore here. I'm just saying. There's no way that they're not coming to school one day and the sun comes out. I'm just saying that's insane.
Yeah, it's like high school is a bad idea even just for that.
Well, I mean, I feel like if you're a vampire, what you should do is go to like Alaska for 6 months when it's night the whole time.
Wait, you know what I'm realizing too? They don't need to eat or sleep, so they don't need like a job. Like they literally, more than anything ever, they could live off the grid. They literally could just live in the woods and like hunt animals.
Why do they go to high school? Just to be part of society?
Just so the movie will work? Like that's literally
they don't have to.
I mean, I think in theory, the justification is like, well, they were frozen at age 17 or 18, so now you're that age forever, and you got to do what you do at that age.
Have a horror.
But it's like, dog, you could just be like,
right.
No, actually, I just graduated and I have a job now.
And every vampire should be in like Alaska for 6 months, and then I guess the other, I don't know where, the North Pole or whatever. I don't know, wherever it's night, because there's 6 months a year in some place it's night the entire time, and you should just be there.
Yeah, you should be doing that.
Yeah, but you should.
Well, if they move around because it's like, well, you can't stay in high school for 12 years, so they move somewhere else and start high school over.
Right.
It's insane.
But
also,
yeah.
Sorry, to the point of like, why are you spending eternity doing this? The doctor, Carlisle, when he comes in and he checks her eyes and he's like, oh yeah, you should be good. I had this moment of like, he's been a doctor for like hundreds of years. He should work at like the Mayo Clinic. Like he's probably like, he should, you know what I mean? He should be like curing disease. You're working at like
he should know a lot.
A small primary care office
should
in
actually
Forks.
know quite a bit. Yeah,
you should be like curing cancer. Like
if you're like around for that long, you should be a genius.
Truly,
like Robert Pattinson should know everything.
You better be a genius.
The only thing they do is like he knows classical music. They're like the only way a kid would know Debussy is if he's a vampire. The only way he'd know that is if he's from that time period.
And even then, it's like, well, so he's not that cool. That was like top 40.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's just basic bitch of the 1700s.
I think they do try to spin it like it's not like you're stuck in a 17-year-old's body, but you age. They try to spin it like you are 17 forever.
Right. But I do
love. But
it's
like, yeah.
I do love when he's playing that song, and she's like, "I love Clair de Lune." I'm like, first of all, I know this is trying to be like, you're like, oh, you're not like other girls. That's the most basic bitch shit. Isn't that like the song they play at every wedding? She is so not a tomboy. I don't know. She just has black hair. That's all it is. She's just a brunette. She's just a cute brunette.
And she's like really skinny.
Yeah, but there's nothing like, she's not like reading Sylvia Plath.
She wears a hoodie.
She wears a hoodie, but
she drives a truck.
But it was given to her, but she likes it. I guess she does like it.
Yeah, she's like, the truck is so cool, man.
Right. I guess that is a little Jordan Jensen-y of her with the truck and shit. But like, I guess it has none of the cultural elements of being like a kind of like, I don't know, like a not your regular kid, you know? There's no like, you don't know what she's reading or what like, or like what she's like into or like her views. It's just that she like doesn't like dresses. It's the most shallow version of a tomboy. You know?
Sure,
what I mean?
Yeah. This is completely fair.
But yeah, it's a very bad movie. I can't help but my theory that women have bad taste. It starts at a young age. It's not your own fault. You're conditioned to have bad taste.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Because it's just like, God, it's just really bad. There's like no interesting characters, no relationships, and no utilizing.
Well, there's no relationships. Come on now.
I guess between them two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
And the family is mad that she's there. I won't give you that one. There's not no relationship.
There's not no relationship, but the father and the daughter is pretty weak. There's not much going on there. And like, and then the I guess there's stuff between them two. But to be fair, they don't really have conflicts if you think about it. He's just protecting
I'm in love
her.
with you, but I want to eat you isn't a conflict?
But they're making it work. Like there's no like
they're making it work.
There's no like personality conflicts.
It's like the biggest conflict of all time. You're the love of my life, and I'm worried that if I even touch you, I might kill you.
But you do have to admit that metaphor kind of is cluttered because he also wants to fuck her, right? So which appetite is it? Like he wants to fuck her, right?
Well, but that's where I think you're like, oh, it is some dark. The urge to fuck her and the urge to kill her are like
connected.
Separate, but like
rape,
obviously
murder,
lusty in similar ways. That's some weird shit.
Yeah, I guess it's weird. And then he kisses her, and it seems very hard for him.
Yeah.
He says it like it's an experiment. I'm going to try something. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And he just like kisses
and he's
her.
like, I'm going to try to kiss you without losing my mind and eating you.
There definitely seems like a part where she's also masturbating in bed. Or they seem to, you remember that part where she's in bed? It looks like she felt like she just masturbated. Or maybe I just masturbated while watching. But like, it's
when he's like at the window or something? Or is
they
it
like have a day and then she's like in bed like later. I don't know. She's definitely like, she's definitely.
Well, she also does always talk like.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart.
But she's like, oh, hi.
Kristen Stewart's entire like acting is just like chuckling awkwardly to herself. She's just like,
dude, have you ever seen that interview?
That's just all she does.
It's kind of great. You ever seen that interview where like they do one of those like, you know, can this actor guess which one of their movies this line is from? And she's reading one and she doesn't know what it is. And she's like, let me do a Kristen Stewart impression. She's like, I just think that like, honestly, and she's like, I know the movie. And it works and it triggers it for her. And I was like, oh, that's like pretty funny and self-aware.
Yeah. That is really
and her
funny.
Kristen Stewart impression is like very funny.
Who is that?
Kristen Stewart.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, she seemed really cool. She seems like a cool person.
Like, no, I love her.
But she's not. I mean,
the acting is like
she's gotten better as
weird.
an actress. But she's just like that. Back then, she was just like she's like the female young Hugh Grant, just the inarticulate bump.
But I would argue that the movie would be a lot more boring if it was just acted normally.
Yeah. No,
which is not a great argument, but I do think it's true.
Yeah, and
like that's what makes it fun and kind of memeable and like specific.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's definitely fun, and well, no, but it's not that fun. It's just a bad story, and there's really no real suspense. But yeah, I guess that 14-year-old is good. And I will say this: Kristen Stewart, even though the tomboy shit is very bare minimum in this movie, she definitely committed to later on. Because I feel like she's been 12 different types of dudes in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
you know?
She got buzzed. She had the mullet,
and she's great now.
She's engaged or I think married to a woman.
Oh, really? Did you see Love Lies Bleeding?
Yeah,
fantastic movie. I thought she was great in that.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked Rose Glass's other movie better though, Saint Maud.
Oh yeah, I know. It's fantastic.
Thank God, something we agree on, and it has a woman.
Yeah, Well, I love that director. Yeah,
she's amazing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Saint
I
Maud
love
is like
female directors. I don't pretend to like ones I don't like.
I should have said Saint Maud. That's a great movie.
Oh, I love Saint Maud. Yeah, but I mean, I know Saint Maud's amazing. It's like the best. It's like one of the greatest last shots of a horror movie.
Dude, right?
Yeah,
one of the most incredible endings ever, and then the symbolism of spoiler alert, but the symbolism of like, is she literally burning alive or did she go to hell? Symbolism is the wrong word, but the like question of that.
Yeah,
and like, is there? That's a great movie.
It's
I do like good movies.
No, it is an incredible movie.
God damn it, I should have said Saint Maud.
No, this was much more fun.
Yeah.
This. But obviously, just to wrap it up, she does like good movies. She likes Rose Glass.
And bad ones.
I feel like mentioning Rose Glass is good for both of us. It makes me look like I'm not sexist. Because I do love certain female directors. I just don't like the substance. And it makes you look like you don't just like shit movies, you know? Rose Glass is great. Check out Saint Maud, one of the best horror movies to come out in a long time. I don't even know if it's like a horror movie that's so realistic, a depiction of something that it's not. It makes you question if it's a horror movie,
or if it's just like a character study of like.
It's essentially a subjective character study, but I guess it's hard just in the sense from her perspective. But it is incredible. And I think Love Lies Bleeding is not as great, but still really good, and like some really great stuff in it. Great director with good body horror, Much better than the Substance director.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
I mean, there's soul to it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's like human emotions. There's good characters, relationship between both of them, you know? But anyway, let's do some plugs. Thanks for doing this. I feel like we talked for a while, but it was great.
This is so fun. Thank you for having me. This is
so
like
fun.
Truly,
I got to
this
get
is so fun.
people's bad movies on more. Like, it's just been like.
I am glad. I'm glad I said Twilight. This gave us a lot of mileage.
Yeah, I know. This has become like an NPR like commemoration of movies. I haven't like. It's like.
Well, we could do it. We could walk through each movie in the series. Thank you for having me.
Of course. What are your plugs? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Maddie T. Wiener, and my Punch Up Live is in my bio. I have shows coming up in, I don't know when it's coming out, but Houston, Rhode Island, West Virginia. But they're all my dates are on there, and I have a mailing list if you want to know when I'm in your city. And I have a podcast called Phone is in the Bag, which we got to get you on.
Oh, yeah, sure. I guess I have to now. It's like getting invited to a wedding. You have to pay it back. Yeah, check her out.
You don't. It's not two women. Does that make it better?
Who is it?
Me and my buddy Kenyon.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah. As long as
genuinely more excited.
I feel like I typically just do female podcasts. I feel like the last one I did was Maddie and Allie Mae. You know?
Oh, right on.
Yeah. But I'll,
No, there's a whole guy there.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll do it. And for me, I'll be at Zany's this weekend.
Sick.
Yeah. Friday and Saturday. Get tickets now. punchup.live/Raanan/tickets. And I'll be in a bunch of other places. Colorado Springs, Minneapolis, Royal Oak, Michigan. So yeah, you can find me on my website or Punch Up. And thanks again for doing this. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having you. Cut.
Raanan is fat and he's a Jew. He'll tell you something that you already knew. Your favorite movie sucks. Your favorite movie sucks. American Beauty or Forrest Gump. Your favorite movie sucks.